ಸೊ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲವರಿಗೆ? ಎಸ್. ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ. Good afternoon to all of you. We are talking about the wildlife conservation. So in the last class, if my memory goes right, we were discussing about why the wildlife is to be conserved. Probably uh, we have discussed something uh, 10 12 points, uh, which are nothing but the reasons for conserving the wildlife, which highlights the importance of the wildlife. Suppose um, if in the examination, if you are asked to write about the importance of wildlife also, you can write the same thing, because there only we have discussed why we need to conserve the wildlife. So continuing this same chapter, today we will discuss about few more things. As far as the conservation or management of the wildlife is concerned, apart from the state and central government directly, there are many agencies are also involved in the process of conservation. So these agencies may be having government employees in some it may be volunteers. Together, they have done some remarkable work in the field of wildlife conservation. So today, first we will try to have a glimpse of those organizations which have actively involved in the wildlife conservation. So these agencies can be broadly divided into two categories. One is the government agencies which are involved in the wildlife conservation, and another one is the non-governmental organization which are in short called as NGOs. Both of them are complementary to each other. In government also, for the purpose of wildlife conservation, what has done is different agencies have been formed, different bodies have been formed, and these bodies which are run by the government, which are assisted by the government, where the government machinery works with the public, this we call it as governmental organization or government agencies. So now first we will start with such agencies, and we can discuss about few agencies, and then we can uh, discuss about the non-government agencies also. So among the government agencies, the first and the foremost one is Ministry of Environment and Forest, MOEF. It is in short, it is called as MOEF. It is the nodal agency. Remember, it is the highest apex body in the entire country as far as the uh, this environment and forest management is concerned. So this is a nodal agency and it's an administrative structure. It's a part of the central government. We have a separate ministry for that. That is the Ministry of Environment and Forest. It is meant for planning, promotion, and coordinating. Because on a large scale, India is such a big country and one of the mega biodiversity country. For this, we need a separate head where we will be able to uh, plan for the future and present, and promote all the activities which enhances the quality of environment and forest, because the when I say environment and forest, wildlife also comes under this category. So one is planning, promotion, and coordination, because there are so many other agencies also involved, state governments are involved. There must be proper coordination among that one, and then supervising the implementation of India's environment and forestry policies and programs. Many of the policies and programs are not only within the country, we are also influenced by lot of international organizations, other countries. So it is the main duty of this MOEF to oversee the um, India's environment and forest policies and programs. Even the information on project clearance, rules, regulations, it may be related to pollution, environmental protection, wildlife, etc. Uh, the basic framework is formed by this Ministry of Forest and Environment. Uh, even the users or stakeholders can get to know about the action and reports related on the climate change and biodiversity conservation. uh, Information is available. If you visit their website, you will see lot of programs undertaken by them, and their some of the major initiatives such as compensatory afforestation, fund management, and all those things you will get information. It serves as a nodal agency in the country for United Nations Environmental Program. It's an international program, UNEP, what we call United Nations Environmental Program. Uh, for this, in India, MOF is the nodal agency. Not only that, South Asia Cooperative Environmental Program, International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, and for the follow-up of United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. In all these things, the India is represented by MOEF, and that is the only nodal agency. Ministry is also entrusted with issues relating to the multilateral bodies. It has to deal with other bodies of our country as well as outside. Global Environmental Facility and regional bodies like Economic and Social Council for Asia and Pacific, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, SARC, on the matter pertaining to this environment. So here, the broad objectives of the ministry are: one is conservation and survey of flora and fauna, forests and wildlife. So this is the agency actually all the data with respect to flora, fauna, forest, wildlife. It is with this MOEF. Even it is also assigned the task of prevention and control of pollution, then afforestation and regeneration of degraded areas, then protection of environment and ensuring the welfare of the animals. Because once only if you are able to protect the environment, then only you can ensure the welfare of all the wild animals. All these objectives are supported by laws, legislative and regulatory measures, which are aimed at preservation, conservation, and protection of environment. Besides the legislative measures, beside these legislative measures, we have all those things. So this is the broad information about the MOEF. Then another governmental body which is involved in the wildlife conservation is IBWL, Indian Board for Wildlife. This Indian Board for Wildlife is an apex body in India for only wildlife related matters. Only if we MOF is a broader arena, broader scope, but this Indian Board for Wildlife is only concerned with the wildlife, and that's why it become the apex body in India for wildlife related matters. The main responsibility of this is the promotion of wildlife conservation and development of wildlife and their habitat, naturally the forest. So this is the a statutory body constituted under section of 5A of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So this approves the project, including the government projects in and around the protected area. Suppose if the government wants to have a railway line or aerodrome or a road adjacent to this protected areas like national park, wildlife sanctuaries, then Indian Board for Wildlife should approve that. Otherwise, even government cannot do that, carry out the projects. It is an advisory board and advises the central government on policy matters concerned with the wildlife conservation in the country. So all policy matters it advises central government means MOF. It Actually, it is an advisory body to the MOEF. The board was constituted in 2003 under Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Uh, Before that, there was Indian Board for Wildlife, um, uh, which, Indian Board for Wildlife, which was formed in 1952 as an advisory body. Now we have uh, um, another body which has been formed in the same name in 2003. And this Indian Board for Wildlife, the chairman is the Prime Minister. It comprises totally 47 members, including the Prime Minister with the chairman, uh, ex officio chairperson. The Ministry of Environment and Forestry and Climate Change is the vice chairman of the board. As per this WLPA, the every time the new government is formed, when the new government is formed, a new national board for wildlife has to be constituted with the prime minister as the chairman. So this is not a permanent body. When the new government comes, it changes because the prime minister changes. If the prime minister changes, the chairman and all the members also changes. The functions of the national board for wildlife is it functions um, promotion and development of wildlife and its conservation. Then advise the government on matters relating to wildlife conservation and preservation. Then it can give or reserve the clearance to project in and around national parks and other protected areas. And even the government cannot alter the boundaries of protected area unless NBW approves. So that is it has a statutory body. Then another one is Wildlife Institute of India in Dehradun. It is established in 1982. This Wildlife Institute of India, WII, is an internationally acclaimed institution because it is the Institute of International Repute. It offers training program, academic courses, and advisory in wildlife research and management. So all those who come pass IFS, Indian Forest Service, they are trained in this Wildlife Institute of India. Advisory in wildlife research and management. The institute is actively engaged in research across the breadth and length of the country on biodiversity related issues. The institutes, that is the idyllic campus, that is the name, that has been carefully developed to create state of the art infrastructure to carry out or to encourage and promote scholarly work. Even along with that, this institute offers postgraduate degree in wildlife science. If you can, even many of you after completion of your BSc, you can go for PG in wildlife science, and that is offered by this uh, wildlife institute. Uh, it is an internationally acclaimed institution. It also offers training program, academic courses, advisory in wildlife research and management. Not only for Indian participant, even there will be participants from all over the world here. The institute is actively engaged in research across the breadth of the country on biodiversity issues. Then the next one is Central Zoo Authority. Central Zoo Authority, this is also a government organization. Actually, this function under all these things function under the environment, the ministry, that is the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change now, has reconstituted the Central Zoo Authority. Actually, earlier also there were Jew authorities, but MOF has uh, reconstituted the authority to include an expert from the School of Planning and Architecture and a molecular biologist. Earlier, only the geologist or naturalist used to be there. Now, even there will be an architects and even molecular biologists are also there. This is also a statutory body chaired by environmental minister, minister for environment and forest. He will chair the ministry, and the main function is regulating the Jews across the country. Regulating the Jews across the country. All Jews comes under this purview. Without the permission of the central Jew authority, nobody can start. No state governments or central government can start the new Jews, because this authority lays down guidelines and prescribes rules under which the Jews can be established. At the same time, transfer from Jews nationally and internationally. Now and then you read some few of these rhinoceros from Kolkata Zoo. It has been brought to Mysore Zoo, or some of the tiger from here is sent somewhere to other countries. All these things for the transfer of the animal from among the Jews nationally and internationally. One should get the permission from the central Jew authority. Apart from the chairman, who is the Minister of Environment and Forest, it consists of 10 members and a member secretary. And almost all of them are the officials in the environmental ministry, and some non-government experts are also included, especially those who are in the field of wildlife conservation or sometimes the retired forest officers. The main objective of the authority is to complement the national effort in conservation of wildlife. This is in situ conservation, sorry, ex situ conservation. Standards and norms for housing, upkeep, healthcare, overall management of the animals in zoos has been laid down by this authority, uh, Zoo Rules 1992. As I have already told you, every zoo in the country should obtain permission from this uh, authority for its operation. Even this Central Zoo Authority evaluates the zoos with reference to the parameter prescribed in the law. Sometimes, if any zoos fail to uh, comply the rules and regulations uh, put forth by the Central Zoo Authority, if they find that any zoos are substandard, they may refuse recognition and ask them to close down also. Then another governmental organization which is involved in wildlife conservation is Geological Survey of India, which is called as ZSI. We have two major institutions. One is ZSI, Geological Survey of India, another one BSI, Botanical Survey of India. Uh, as far as the wildlife are concerned, it comes under Geological Survey of India. JED. It's a premier Indian organization, specially meant for conducting research in the field of geology. So, um, you can see here the Geological Survey of India was launched in 1916 to promote the survey by Britishers only. Remember, this was started by Britishers in 1916 to promote survey, exploration, and research to enhance the knowledge regarding the wildlife, flora, and fauna of India, British Indian Empire at that time, because uh, till the Britishers came or it was started, uh, though people were having knowledge about the wildlife, but there was no authentic survey, scientific survey, explorations, and research with respect to them. So that's why in 1916, the British Indian Empire uh, launched this Geological Survey of India. Um, Now it is the India's apex organization on animal taxonomy. Lot of animal taxonomists are there. It originated a geological section of Indian Museum. It was started in Indian Museum, which is located in Kolkata, geological section. Um, Later, it was separated from Indian Museum and Geological Survey of India. Till now, it is in the same building where you see the Indian Museum. Initially, JSI had 8 regional centers across India. Currently, there are 16 regional centers. There are 16 regional centers spread across the country. The headquarters of JSI is in Kolkata. So, it has been declared the designated repository for the National Geological Collection. So suppose if you identify a new specimen or a new thing, new taxa, one specimen you have to send that to there. So it has a huge collection. Suppose if you have any doubt, you can visit there and study and specimens there. So this is been made compulsory uh, as per the section 39 of National Biodiversity Act 2002. The objectives of JSI has contributed significantly to the knowledge and research on fauna of the country. The primary objectives of the JSI is to promote the survey, exploration, research and documentation on various aspects of animal taxonomy in the Indian subcontinent. Mainly, we here the JSI is involved in listing the organism, survey, exploration, and then research. We should know the quantum of our biodiversity, wealth of our biodiversity, and that is done, and that is one of their major objectives. Um, Even it also seeks advancement in the knowledge of animal taxonomy. Lot of things are developed. Earlier, taxonomy was more morphological by looking, but now morphology has gone to molecular level, and they have a separate molecular biology lab for the taxonomic identification. It also makes a status survey of threatened and endangered organisms and endemic organisms. Preparation of red data book. Red data book is the book which lists the species which are on the verge of extinction, which are highly threatened. The preparation of red data book, fauna of India and fauna of India and fauna of different states, it publication of books, lot of monographs on different fauna has been brought up by them. Uh, Even in our library, we have a lot of books published by this JSI. And bioecological studies on important community species, and to prepare a database for the recorded species of the country. They prepare separate database also. And another important thing, it has to maintain and develop national geological collection. So the function is um, the activities of this JSI are coordinated by Conservation and Survey Division under the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change. Uh, the functions, JSI publishes the Red Data Book on Indian animals. It was first published in 1983 and is similar to Red Data Book published by the IUCN. IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, is an international body. IUCN also publishes the Red Data Book for the whole world, but JSI publishes the Red Data Book for India. Publication of results, including fauna of India, fauna of states, and fauna of the protected areas. It also organizes training, capacity building, human resource development of the people involved. Now they are more in the development of GIS, Geographic Information System, GIS, and remote sensing studies. GIS and remote sensing studies on recorded animal diversity as well as on threatened species. Even it works for the development of environmental information system, a database, and Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, CITES. These are all the functions. CITES is another multilateral treaty to protect endangered plants and animals. About that, I will discuss later. So, these are some of the most prominent government organizations which are involved in uh, animal conservation or wildlife conservation. Like government organization, there are a lot of NGOs, that the non-government organizations which run by the volunteers, also involved in this wildlife conservation. Here, though there are many, we will list two, three important non-government organizations. Why I am telling is there are many wildlife this organization which are working at a very grassroots level at a local scale. For example, even if you take Uttara Kannada, there must be around 400 plus NGOs which are in the where in their bylaw and wildlife protection is also one of them. So we will not uh, take it. Some of the very important, prominent, which has the international recognition. The first one is Wildlife Protection Society of India, WPSI. It was founded in 1994 by Belinda Wrights. Its executive director, who was a award-winning wildlife photographer and filmmaker, till she took up the cause of conservation. Belinda Wright was an internationally known award-winning wildlife photographer and filmmaker. She got developed, but she got interest developed in the field of wildlife. From its inception, the main aim of this Wildlife Protection Society of India has been to bring a new focus to the daunting task of tackling India's growing wildlife crisis. In India, we have a lot of wildlife crisis, which all of you know already we have discussed. Now, this Wildlife Protection Society of India is focusing to find some solution for this. So it does this by providing support and information to the government authorities, either to combat poaching or with respect to illegal wildlife trade, particularly the wild tigers. It has started with this one, but now it has broadened its focus to deal with human animal conflicts. Human animal conflicts is the most, in recent years, it has become very serious. Wildlife are causing problem to the human being. Of course, it is actually the human being who have made them like that. So you can see elephants eating the agriculture crops, or in our area the monkeys and wild boars creating problem. These are causing human animal conflicts. Now the Wildlife Protection Society of India is focusing to deal with the human animal conflicts, and also it provides support for research projects. It has a team of committed environmentalists. One of the more, as a result, this is one of the most respected and effective wildlife conservation organization. Uh, it's a non-profit organization. Now you may ask how they get the funding. The funds come by Indian and international donors who want to conserve the wildlife. So this society's board members also leading conservationists and business people are there. So from them they collect money and use it for the protection of wildlife. So their mission is to bring new focus and energy to tackle the growing wildlife crisis, especially in India. Not only that, their mission is to protect the endangered species. For that, they have to conserve their habitat. Then, first, they have to conserve the habitat of endangered species, then, create awareness among the public, support the programs which can conserve the endangered species, and for the environmentalists who work on the conservation of endangered species, the training programs are to be arranged. All those things are under their mission. So they are committed to creating an enduring paradigm to conserve the India's wildlife by working with local communities and government agencies. Unless the local communities are taken into confidence, you will not be able to protect them. So that's why they are their mission. I have taken it from their website only, their mission statement. So India's wildlife by working with local communities and government agencies to curb poaching and illegal wildlife trade. They collaborate with state governments to monitor the illegal wildlife trade and provide them with hands-on training, because conservation is not a easy thing. They have to be trained. The people who are involved in that needs lot of training, especially the people who are in combating poaching and illegal wildlife trade. Then another organization is WWF India. WWF India refers to Worldwide Fund for Nature India. It's an international organization. In India, it is known as WWF India. It has been established as a charitable trust on 27th November 1969. This WWF India, it has started with the aim of reducing the degradation of Earth's natural environment. So, by preventing the degradation of Earth's natural environment, they are building a future for the human beings which can live in harmony with nature. The problems what we face today, not only we the wildlife face today, is because of humans. Human beings are not in harmony with the nature. So that's why the WWF India is focusing on building such a country where wildlife and human beings live in harmony. Um, in 1867, the organization changed its name from World Wildlife Fund. Earlier, it was known as World Wildlife Fund. Now it is known as Worldwide Fund for Nature. World Earlier it was known as World Wildlife Fund, same WWF when it was started in 1969. But in 1987 they have changed their name, and now it is also WWF, but it is the Worldwide Fund for Nature India. With 5 decades of extensive work in the sector, is one of the leading conservation organization in the country. It's a science-based organization which addresses the issues, study them scientifically. Uh, it also involved in the conservation of species and its habitats. Nowadays, in climate change, water and environmental education, in various fields which ultimately benefit the nature. Uh, Even its modern perspective, based on their experience, uh, it has become more holistic in understanding the various conservation issues facing the country and finding a solution to them. And they also working with different stakeholders, governments, NGOs, schools, colleges, corporates, students, and other individuals. The mission statement of this WWF India is to stop degradation of planet's natural environment. First, to stop the degradation of planet's natural environment and build a future in which humans live in harmony with nature. That's what I have told you. How? By conserving the world's biological diversity. A human being can live in harmony with the nature by conserving the world's biological diversity. That's the first mission statement. Second one is ensuring that use of renewable natural resources is sustainable, because our dependency on these non-renewable natural resources, it has created a lot of problem in the environment. It has created a lot of imbalance. So now it promotes the use of renewable natural resources, and it also promote the reduction of pollution and wasteful consumption. Then the last organization under the non-governmental organization which we discuss, Bombay Natural History Society. In short, it is known as BNHS. This is one of the India's biggest non-governmental organization that was funded in 1883. Founded in 1883 during the British period. The sole aim of this organization is to conduct research activities and observations on natural history and displaying of rare specimens. This is the oldest organization in India. It is specialized in conservation of nature and natural resources. It also organizes lot of educational activities and exploration of natural history. They conduct lot of programs, training programs, nature walk program, bird watch, everything. Uh, some many of the interesting specimens are exhibited in BNHS, which is in Bombay. Naturalist, ornithologist, and other qualified scientists within the country and all over the world make frequent visit to the museum to conduct their research and observation. So one thing BNHS attraction is even tourists can go there, visit all the sections of the museum and various galleries. More than 30 countries are active members of this organization. The organization also publishes a quarterly journal known as Journal of Bombay Natural History Society and a quarterly magazine what is called as Hornbill. Few copies of this are in our library also. Today, nature's enthusiasts from around the globe present and hand in rare specimens to the society. So, if there are some rare specimens, they hand over them to BNHS. BNHS has received international award many times for its commitment to nature. And logo of the BNHS is hornbill. So these are the non-governmental organizations, a few of them, which are involved in the wildlife protection. Now, when we talk about the wildlife conservation, all conservationists or those who have some interest in that, they always think about Wildlife Protection Act. It's a sweeping package of rules and regulations for the protection of wildlife, and it is known as Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So the till then there was no common act for the wildlife. Each state government used to have their own acts. So that's why the central government thought there must be one common act for the entire India, except Jammu Kashmir at that time. Now I don't know whether it implements to Jammu Kashmir also. Uh, this was a sweeping package. This act provides the protection of countries, wild animals, birds, plant species, and we can say that it provides environmental and ecological security. Among other things, the Act lays down restrictions on hunting many animal species. This Act was last amended in the year 2006. Then amendment bill was introduced in Rajya Sabha in 2013 and then referred to standing committee. But the amendment bill was withdrawn in 2015. I don't know that. So this Wildlife Protection Act is a constitutional provision. As per the Article 48A of Constitution of India, it has been formed as per the Article 48A of Constitution of India. It directs the state to protect and improve the environment and safeguard wildlife and forests. Actually, this article was added to the Constitution by 42nd Amendment, which took in 1976. Then another article of the Constitution, Article 51A, which imposes certain fundamental duties for the people of India. One of the fundamental duty is to protect and improve the natural environment. It is our fundamental duty, remember, protect and improve the natural environment, including the forest, lake, rivers, wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. We should have compassion for living creatures. So, salient feature of this Wildlife Protection Act is this act provides for the protection of listed species of animals, birds and plants. And under this, you can establish a network of ecologically important protected areas in the country. All these national parks, wildlife sanctuary that we have established, it is under this 1972 Wildlife Protection Act. This act provides provision for formation of wildlife advisory boards, wildlife wardens, specific specifies their power and duties also. Because of this act, India has become a party to Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. That's an international convention. I am discussing about that later. After this, we will discuss about CITES. It's a multilateral treaty with other countries to protect our endangered animals and plants. This is also known as Washington Convention. Was it held in Washington and was adopted as a result of the meeting of IUCN members of UNO. For the first time under this act, a comprehensive list of endangered wildlife of the country has been prepared. The act prohibits the hunting of endangered species. The scheduled animals are prohibited from being traded. You cannot trade those animals as per the act's provision. The act also provides license for sale, transfer, and possession of some wildlife species. All wildlife species you cannot, but there are certain wildlife species which you can possess, but for that you have to take the license. It provides for the establishment of wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, all those things. Even because of its provision only, Central Zoo Authority was started in 1992. This act has 6 schedules which give varying degrees of protection to class of flora and fauna. In each schedule, There are certain animals are listed. Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 get absolute protection. Schedule 1, all the species which are listed in Schedule 1 and Part 2 of the Schedule 2, they get absolute protection. And offense under this schedule attract maximum penalties, remember. Even that schedule has also a list which species you can hunt also. Even the National Board for Wildlife was constituted as a statutory organization under the provision of this 1972 Wildlife Protection Act, which we have already heard about it, again advisory board and all those things. The act also provides for the establishment of National Tiger Conservation Authority. Probably all of you must have heard about Tiger, Project Tiger. We could start the Project Tiger under this act. It's a statutory body of the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, which supervises and coordinates as per this act. Its mandate is to strengthen the tiger conservation in India. Under this act, Project Tiger was launched in 1973 as the tigers have become endangered species. And the Project Tiger is the most successful project, and because of this, we can increase the tiger population. Um, I will not take up the sites now because time may not be permissible to me to start. So this is more general information, and uh, even the next class also I should talk about the flora and fauna of endangered fauna and flora, Red Data Book, Ramsar Convention, and I may need another maximum 2 hours to complete this. So I hope all of you have understood because there is nothing much to understand here. Because only the information you can uh, have it here. Still, if you have any doubt, you can get it clarified. I have given the reading material on the this wildlife problems. ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲವರಿಗೆ? Yes. Have you got it or not? Write up ಬಂದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ? Need for conservation. Yesterday I must have sent it. ಸಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನನಗೆ just convey it to me. I will resend it. I have sent it to Karthik and Vivek. Probably they must have. Karthik ಬಂದಿದ್ಯಾ? Okay. Then no problem. You can read that. And once the college reopens, there are much more books there which you can. Okay. Any doubt? If not, I will wind up now. ಹೇಳಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇದ್ರೆ if you are not understood or if you want to discuss anything else also you can. Uh, so then we will stop here. We will meet day after tomorrow, Saturday morning ಅಲ್ವಾ? Okay, thank you for yes ಹೇಳಿ. ಹಾ ಹೇಳಿ ಕೇಳ. ಹಾ ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ? ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ಚಾಯ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ, ಬಹಳ ಸುಲಭ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಬರೆಯೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಹಾ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ಚಾಯ್ಸ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ಚಾಯ್ಸ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇದು ಯಾವುದು ಬುಕ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಯಾವುದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನೋಡೋಣ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ನಿಮ್ದು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ನೋಡಿ. ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು? ಹಲೋ, ಯಾವ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಇತ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ರಿಲೀಸ್? ಓಕೆ, ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಗೋ ಥ್ರೂ ಇಟ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇದೆ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್. Yeah, I will for the timing.